everyone, I'm Anjelie Shaw, certified nutritionist, health coach, and mom of two. Today, I'm going to walk you through the best hypoallergenic baby formulas. I'll explain what hypoallergenic really means, when your baby actually needs one, and I'll compare top formulas so you can feel confident in your decision. Basically, I'm doing all the research so that you don't have to, so you can find the best formula for your baby. So let's nerd out for just a second. What makes a formula hypoallergenic? Hypoallergenic formulas are made for babies who can't tolerate regular formula due to an allergy, usually to cow's milk protein. These formulas use hydrolyzed proteins, which is just a fancy way of saying that the proteins are broken down so that they're easier to digest. The more broken down they are, the smaller the protein molecules are, and the easier that it is for your baby to digest, which means the less likely it is that those proteins are going to trigger an allergic reaction. There are three main types of hypoallergenic formulas. The first is partially hydrolyzed formulas. This is where the proteins are only somewhat broken down, usually between like 80 and 95%. It's good for babies with milder sensitivities or maybe a very mild allergy, but not a severe allergy. Then there are extensively hydrolyzed formulas. These are where the proteins are broken down a lot, usually to a size of under 3 kilodaltons, which is really, really small. Usually these formulas are 95 to 100% hydrolyzed, and this is what we consider truly hypoallergenic. Then there are amino acid-based formulas, which is the most broken down type of formula you can find. They contain 0 whole proteins, just free amino acid. These are for babies with very severe allergies or who cannot tolerate hydrolyzed proteins at all. The American Academy of Pediatrics requires that all hypoallergenic formulas are tested in clinical settings. So these aren't just marketing terms. These formulas truly are hypoallergenic. So you might be wondering, does my baby really need a hypoallergenic formula? The first step is to ask your pediatrician or allergist to do a blood test or some sort of allergy test on your baby. This can be a skin prick test or a blood test or sometimes even a stool test. If your pediatrician confirms that your baby has a cow's milk protein allergy, CMPA, then yes, your baby will need a hypoallergenic formula. But if the test comes back negative and your baby still has digestive issues, eczema, is fussy, is constipated, it may mean that they need some sort of a gentle or hypoallergenic formula, but maybe not extensively hydrolyzed or an amino acid formula. That's something to talk about with your pediatrician. So if you're exploring these options, let's talk about what's actually available and which formulas are the best. So in the United States, there are basically 3 top formulas that are considered hypoallergenic. And then there's one formula that is considered gentle, not hypoallergenic, but I think actually has the cleanest ingredients out of any of the US-based formulas. So let's talk through these brands really quickly. I'll dive deeper into them once I get into my best of list. But just so you know, the top formulas in the US for hypoallergenic or hydrolyzed protein that are extensively hydrolyzed and are hypoallergenic are Enfamil Nutramigen, Similac Alimentum, and Gerber Extensive HA. These are basically the 3 top options in the US. There are also amino acid formulas like EleCare or Neocate, which are even more broken down, as I mentioned before. Now, if you want a gentle option in the US, the best one that I found is Bobbie Organic Gentle formula. This is not a hypoallergenic formula, but may work for babies with milder sensitivities or milder allergies because it does contain hydrolyzed proteins. Now let's talk through the best hypoallergenic formulas on the market today. I'm going to break this up into European formulas and US-based formulas, and then I'll talk through the amino acid formulas at the end. So first, if you're looking for cleaner ingredients or better taste, the European formulas are definitely worth considering. They're more natural and have cleaner ingredients overall. And you can order them online. I've linked some of my favorite distributors in the description below. So the first, HiPP HA. This comes in 3 stages for different ages of your baby. Pre is for 0 to 3 months. Stage 1 is from 0 to 6 months. Stage 2 is for 6 months and up. This is a cow's milk based formula and is about 86 to 87% hydrolyzed. It also contains 100% lactose as the carbohydrate, which is a positive because it contains no corn syrup or syrup solids. However, if your baby has a lactose allergy, then this would not be the best fit. It also includes DHA, ARA, prebiotics, and probiotics. It's not certified organic because of the European Union's rules about hydrolyzed proteins inherently not being able to be organic. However, most of the ingredients in this formula are organic, which is a huge plus. And again, this would not be suitable for a severe cow's milk protein allergy because this is still considered partially hydrolyzed by US standards. Then there's HiPP Comfort, which in Europe is marketed as a formula used for gas, irritability, digestive discomfort, and constipation. However, it is actually more broken down than HiPP HA, which is marketed as a hydrolyzed formula, which I thought was really interesting. HiPP Comfort has the same hydrolyzed proteins as HiPP HA, so it's got the 86 to 87% hydrolyzed proteins, but it also has a reduced lactose content, which means that it's actually easier to digest. This could be great for colic, constipation, gassy babies, babies with digestive discomfort, babies who have all of the symptoms of a cow's milk protein allergy, but did not test positive for that allergy when tested by your pediatrician. It also contains DHA, ARA, prebiotics, and probiotics, and it contains no added sugars or starches. It does contain maltodextrin, but compared to some of the US formulas, this isn't so bad. And again, you can order this online just like HiPP HA. All right, now let's talk through the US-based hypoallergenic formulas that are available. So the first is Enfamil Nutramigen. Enfamil Nutramigen comes in a powdered version and a ready-to-feed version. The positive about the ready-to-feed version is that it's already pre-made for you and it has less corn syrup solids than the powdered version. But the ready-to-feed version of Nutramigen has added stabilizers like carrageenan, which are not great and can cause inflammation. So it's kind of a trade-off between whether you want one that has more sugar, added sugars, or whether you want one that has less added sugar, is ready to feed, but has some stabilizers and other things added to it that the powdered version does not have. But both of these are 93% hydrolyzed, and they should work for CMPA or lactose intolerance, and they have been clinically tested for both. In clinical studies, infants shown improvement after 48 hours of being on this formula. Now, to give you a sense of the ingredient breakdown, for the powdered version, corn syrup solids are 47% of this formula. Then vegetable oil is the next ingredient, and that's about 26% of the formula. Then you have the hydrolyzed milk proteins, which is 17% of the formula. Modified cornstarch is about 4%, and then the rest of the ingredients are about 1 to 2% and minimally included. This could be a good formula to try if, let's say, you've tried HiPP HA and HiPP Comfort, your baby is still having issues, or your baby has been diagnosed with a cow's milk protein allergy, and you want a formula that will solve that issue. Nutramigen is just one stage for babies aged 0 to 12 months and contains DHA and ARA. So to recap, Nutramigen comes in two forms, a ready-to-feed form and a powdered version. The ready-to-feed version has way less sugar, but includes carrageenan and other stabilizers, which can cause inflammation. The powdered version has way more sugar, 47%, but no carrageenan and other stabilizers. It does contain palm oil, it contains corn syrup solids, and does contain DHA and ARA. Now let's talk through Similac Alimentum. This formula also comes in a powdered version and a ready-to-feed version, and is very comparable to Nutramigen. Similac Alimentum is also extensively hydrolyzed at 93%, just like Nutramigen, and has been studied for babies with cow's milk protein allergies or lactose sensitivities. And just like Nutramigen, the ready-to-feed version contains way less added sugar, but contains carrageenan and other stabilizers, whereas the powdered version has more sugar and no stabilizers. So for the powdered version, I've broken down the ingredients, again, to give you a sense of how much of each ingredient is included in the formula. So the first, corn maltodextrin, this is 39% of the formula. Then you have the hydrolyzed proteins from milk, and that's about 17% of the formula. Then you have high oleic safflower oil, which is about 9% of the formula. Added sugar is another 9%, soy oil is about 8%, then you have a bunch of other ingredients that are about 1 to 2%. Again, this is very comparable to Nutramigen. I would say the two are basically interchangeable, so it's just about what works better for your baby. And I would try this if your baby has a diagnosed cow's milk protein allergy, or your baby has tried HiPP HA and HiPP Comfort and neither one of those has worked. One thing to note about Alimentum that is different than Nutramigen is that this formula does contain a prebiotic called 2-FL-HMO, which is similar to a prebiotic found in breast milk. All right, now let's talk through the third hypoallergenic formula available in the US. This is Gerber Extensive HA. This formula is 100% hydrolyzed, so it's even more broken down than Alimentum, Nutramigen, HiPP HA, and HiPP Comfort. It's also a lactose-free formula, so it covers basically most milk-related allergies out there. It also happens to be non-GMO, which is a plus because most US hypoallergenic formulas are not. It also has been clinically tested to help with CMPA and milk allergies. And it's made with a probiotic called B-lactis, which is similar to a probiotic found in breast. It doesn't have actual sugar added, but it does contain corn maltodextrin, which is a highly processed starch and acts similarly to sugar, so it is a refined carbohydrate that is the first ingredient. Again, this could be a great option if none of the other hypoallergenic formulas have worked, or if you want a US-based but non-GMO formula that's hypoallergenic. So it's worth trying if your baby has a cow's milk protein allergy. Now, as for other options, some people have asked me about vegan baby formulas, and while there are vegan formulas out there, they are designed for toddlers. So there's Elle's plant-based toddler formula, and it has super clean ingredients. I actually love this brand. However, it is designed for toddlers and not for infants. So if you wanted to use it for your infant, you would need to get your pediatrician to sign off on that, since technically it is a toddler formula. But again, as I mentioned, there are gentle formulas on the market, which could be a good option if your baby doesn't have a severe allergy. And again, my favorite and the best on the market today is Bobbie Organic Gentle formula. This is the first USDA organic gentle formula that I found on the market that has super clean ingredients and no sugar. It contains partially hydrolyzed milk proteins, which is why it's not technically a hypoallergenic formula. It's designed for infants that have fussiness, gas, constipation, colic, and it's formulated to support easy digestion. It does have 100% lactose, just like breast milk, so it wouldn't be suitable for a baby with a lactose allergy. It has no corn syrup solids, no maltodextrin, no brown rice syrup. It contains DHA and ARA, no palm oil, no soy, and no added starch. It's also very affordable compared to all of the other hypoallergenic formulas that I found, and it can be used from 0 to 12 months. So again, this could be a good option if your baby has a milder allergy, or you just haven't gotten a diagnosis yet and you want to try a formula that's based in the US and is super clean. Now let's talk through the 2 amino acid-based formulas on the market today, Neocate and EleCare. These formulas are 100% hypoallergenic and are made up of amino acids exclusively. It's actually considered a medical food and should be only given under the guidance of your pediatrician. When I looked at the ingredients, Neocate and EleCare basically looked exactly the same, so I recommend, if you're going down this route, just choosing the one that works best for your baby or is the most affordable or the most available in your area. When it comes to the ingredients, it does contain corn syrup solids, which is 54% of the formula, but it kind of has to contain some sort of sugar because it has no lactose and all of the proteins are in their amino acid form. These formulas are clinically tested. They're suitable for babies with cow's milk protein allergy and other milk protein allergies or sensitivities. They contain DHA and ARA. They are also dairy-free and soy-free. Some things to consider is these formulas can be very expensive and sometimes hard to find, and they kind of don't really taste that good or smell that good, so babies may not like the taste or smell. But if you have tried every single hypoallergenic formula and none of them have worked, this is basically your only option. Some of you have asked me about goat milk formulas or other formula alternatives. And these can be an option if your baby doesn't actually need a hypoallergenic formula and you just want to experiment with some more gentle formulas. My 2 favorite goat milk formulas are Jovi goat milk and Kendamil goat milk. They're made with A2 casein protein, which is easier to digest than A1, which is found in cow's milk. They have no palm oil, no added sugars, and are either non-GMO or fully organic in the case of Jovi. While these are not suitable for true milk protein allergies, they can be helpful for mild sensitivities. So that's it. Those are all of the best hypoallergenic formulas that I have found on the market today. So how do you make sense of all this? Here are some quick recommendations that you can use as a guide when you're trying to pick the best formula for your baby. If your baby has a diagnosed cow's milk protein allergy from your pediatrician, you should stick with an actual hypoallergenic formula, or move on to the amino acid formulas if none of the other options have worked for you. If you're looking for the cleanest ingredients and a hypoallergenic formula that tastes the best, I would try HiPP HA and HiPP Comfort first, assuming your pediatrician is okay with that. If your baby doesn't come back with a diagnosed allergy after being tested, you could try a formula like Bobbie Gentle, which is ideal if you're looking to avoid some of the additives and added sugars found in conventional formulas. It's also a great option if you want a gentle, organic, and non-GMO US-made formula. Remember, no formula is perfect, but these are some of the best that you can find for a hypoallergenic option. And remember, always make sure to talk to your pediatrician before starting or switching to a new formula. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more science-backed baby nutrition tips for your child. And make sure to share this with a fellow parent who might need it. I've also written a very detailed guide to all the hypoallergenic formulas out there, and I've linked that in the description below if you want to read more about it. And finally, if you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comments because I promise I respond to every single question that I get. Thanks for watching. See you next time.